The divide between public and private schools is set to get much greater, according to a report by a leading education expert. After analysing the federal budget, he says government schools stand to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. At the same time, private schools will gain more than $1 billion. The Education Union says the government needs to close the gap and overhaul schools' funding, as recommended by the Gonski report.
What is light and how fast does it travel? First person.
In the heart of Sydney's west, Marylands High School has almost 800 students from 54 nationalities.
It would absolutely be wonderful to give them what is required now and what they deserve.
Most of the public schools' buildings are more than 50 years old. Its next-door neighbour, a private school, has much newer facilities and a swimming pool.
Should there be no education reform, we'll continue going backwards as a nation.
One of Australia's most experienced education funding experts estimates by 2015, funding for government schools will be cut by $673 million, the equivalent of 7,000 teachers if implemented, while funding for private schools will increase by $1.3 billion, enough for an extra 12,000 teachers.
Now that's patently unfair when you think about the real needs that are facing all schools, but particularly government schools.
But the Peak Non-Government Schools lobby argues the report's author has not taken into account funding from both state and territory governments and the trend for more students to go to private schools.
Much of that increase would just account for the significant increase in enrolments that is estimated between now and 2015-16.
David Gonski called for a major overhaul in the way schools' funding is delivered, and he said $5.6 billion was required to make it more equitable. But the government is facing considerable opposition from the private school sector.
The school funding outcomes are inequitable, they're erratic and they're highly volatile.
No school will lose a single dollar per student as a result of any decisions taken after the Gonski review. That's a rock-solid commitment.
The federal government says negotiations still have a way to go and a new funding model would not be introduced until 2014. Philippa McDonald, ABC News.